Okay, let's get started here. Logi 101. How to make others not die. Um, I really want to repeat what I just said and encourage everyone here who has not done this before or questions anything that I say to please speak up and interrupt me. Interruptions tell me that you're actually listening and paying attention, so I won't be upset. Please let me know if you have questions. If anything is vague or you're not quite grasping it, let's talk about it. I'm happy to give more examples if needed. Our goal here is going to just be to give an overview of logistics, what they are, and a bit of how to fly them in a fleet, the actual buttons to click and things to do and not do. We'll be talking about different sizes of ships so you can kind of recognize the things that happen and go on around you, why we shoot what we shoot or, jam what we jam, things like that. Um, this will be helpful for both recognizing things on grid and also communicating with your FC, your fellow Logi pilots, or anyone else who you need to communicate Logi things to. We'll start with the ships, and we'll start with the smallest ones. We have Frigate Logi, Tech 1 and Tech 2. The pros of all the Frigate Logi is they're very fast, and for their hull size, they rep a lot. They're very good at what they do. The cons are that they have fairly low rep range, and you need to do some cap management. You pretty much always have a cap booster fit to these, and you need to chug cap boosters to stay in the fight. Uh, these ships are, let's see, I'll do T1 and T2 for each race. So Caldari has the Burst and the Kirin. You'll see those in our Talwar Doctrine. Minmatar has the. Did I say Burst? Caldari has the Bantam and the Kirin. Minmatar has the Burst and the Scalpel. Galente has the Navitas and the Thalia. And Amar has the Inquisitor and the Deacon. And you'll see Deacons in our Retribution composition. Um, Questions on the Frigate Logi? Okay. Recently, I don't actually have this written down, but recently they gave T3 destroyers a bonus to rep in defensive mode. I'm pretty much not going to cover these at all. I don't know of a single use case for these outside of maybe like abyssals for 2 man abyssals or something like that. So we're going to skip right past that and go to cruiser logi. Uh, T1 and T2 again. Pros is they're overall tankier than the frigate logi and just kind of in general. They have very minor cap management in most cases. These are the most widely used Logi ships in the game. Um, and the cons are for the T2 variant, cost for newer pilots and the skill point investment to get into them. Almost all of the T2 Logi cruisers, well, obviously you need the racial cruiser skill to 5. But then you need at least Logi 4, and for most of them, Logi 5 is pretty much obligatory. So it's a lot of SP, but it's very useful. Um, and those ships are for Caldari, the Osprey and the Basilisk. For Minmatar, the Scythe and the Scimitar. For Galente, you have the Exeter and the Oneros, and then for Amar you have the Augur and the Guardian. And then there's one more wrinkle here, and that's for Triglavian. You have the Rodiva and the Zarmazad. The wrinkle with the Triglavian logistics ships is that just like their DPS counterparts, their rep amount spools up over time as they rep the same target. So repping the same target continuously with a Triglavian logistics ship like the Rodiva or the Zarmazad, the rep amount that you transfer to them goes up over time. Um, Something I should mention for all the races across the board, Um, for at least the frigate and cruiser logi that I just mentioned, you can tell what kind of tank a fleet has by what logi they're using if you're ever confused or unsure. Uh, Galente and Amar are always armor, and Mimitar and Caldari are always shield. That's for the logi, right? So if you have a shield gang, you're going to be using Mimitar or Caldari logi, and if you have a armor gang, you're going to be using Galente or Amar logi. And then the Triglavian logi is also armor. Questions
Which
about
of
the?
the
Go ahead.
between the Amar and the Guente? So I have the scimitar, which is for the shield, I guess, right?
Mhm.
So then I need one for armor. Which one should I get for armor?
Um, it depends on what we're doing, right? So if we're in our retribution gang, um, the frigate logi, the Deacon, is what we use for that. If you're looking for a cruiser, um, for like our Doom composition, we use the Exeter, the Galente cruiser T1. But it depends on what you're doing, right? So the were you there for the third party that we did with Fleet last week?
No,
Okay, in that
that was
fleet.
like the day I joined.
Oh, nice. In that fleet, we were running Typhoon Fleet Issues armor, and the Logi was Guardians. So it all depends on the kind of fleet. The a really simple answer for you is if you like need to quickly undock in armor Logi, uh, an Exeter is a great way to go. A T1 Logi cruiser, um, and it's fairly cheap, and you would do just fine with that if that's what you're kind of looking for.
All right. Oh, that's an executioner. Gonna have to get one of these down here, I guess.
EXEQ, and they should be on. There should be some on Alliance. No, we didn't move those to Alliance contract yet. I think we will soon. Anyway, yeah, that's your answer for that one.
Oh, I found one, I think.
Oh yeah, no, there are some on contract. Thank you for
Yeah.
Zeb is sitting over there like screaming into his mic and not interrupting me. Yes, they're on contract.
Zip, can you talk about answer versus normal for our frigates?
Did you say Ansel?
Mm-hmm.
Like Ansel remote reps?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can cover that. Um, are you guys familiar with the difference between like on local reps? So like local shield boosters, you have regular shield boosters, and then you have ancillary shield boosters. You guys familiar with that concept?
Yeah, where you use nanites
Cat boosters.
versus not, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You use nanites for the armor version. You use cat. Basically, you put charges into your armor repair, and then it for like 8 cycles, um, it's bonused, and then after those 8 cycles are done, it's like way worse than a normal rep. Those also exist in the remote repair uh, variants, so you can have ancillary remote armor repairers or ancillary remote shield boosters, and they function the same way. You put nanite paste or cat boosters in them as charges, and then once you expend all of them, the booster becomes much less effective than a normal one. So it's kind of like having the ability to have some extra burst rep that you wouldn't normally have, with the downside of after you use the charges, you then have to wait for like a 40-second or a minute reload. I don't remember how long it is. Other questions on anything we've gone over so far? Cruiser Logi, other types of reps? Okay.
FC, what's a fax?
Yes. So skipping past some specialty types of logistics, we'll talk about capital logi, and that is triage, otherwise known as faxes. And those ships are the Lith, the Ninazu, the Minakawa, and the Apostle. There are also faction variants. There's the Loggerhead and there's like three more, and I'm gonna completely forget them. If someone knows, speak up.
Minakawa.
What was that?
Minakawa.
No. What are the faction ones? We covered the normal faxes. Anyway, these are the pinnacle of logistics in Eve. They're capital ships. They cost north of 5 bill fully fit. Depends on how you fit it. Uh, they're extremely
So they
tanky.
won't be on contracts?
These will not be on contracts. Good question. No, not here at least. We can talk about that at some point. Um, the yes, so they're extremely tanky. Um, in certain situations, a fax can basically be the single logistic ship for an entire fleet. Um, they basically need an entire fleet to take them down in most cases. The cons are obviously cost, skill points. They don't go anywhere. So once you're in triage, just like if you're in um, Siege with a Dread or you're in Bastion with a Marauder, they can't move, they can't warp, they can't dock, tether, any of that stuff. They are sitting still, and the fight has to happen around them, or if you move out of range of the triage, they can't come to you and save you. Um, and they're obviously big targets. So if you put a fax on the field, expect people who like hunting big things to come try and kill you.
Question. In the order of like capital ships to acquire, would this be like priority one, or would Dread be priority one, or
Dread's a priority one.
okay?
Faxes end up being really big targets.
They all do, but yeah, it's easier for us to pick situations to use dreads in. It's much harder to find situations to use faxes in. Let's put it that way. Any other questions about triage or faxes? Oh, and fax just comes from the short term for Fleet Auxiliary. That's the full name, Fleet Auxiliary, otherwise known as fax.
Fax machines.
Dagon is the other one.
Thank you. Dagon and Loggerhead. Are there not two more? It's just the two?
Just those.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, Dagon and Loggerhead are pirate faction faxes. Okay, and then the things that I skipped over are T3s. So tonight we actually saw Loki's as Logi. If you guys noticed, the Rote fleet of Bargists didn't have any of the ships that I've mentioned so far. They didn't have any scimitars or basilisks. They didn't have any fax with them. They had Loki's. And you can fit T3 cruisers to be Logi. And so you can see Logi Lokis and Logi Legions. You will probably never see Logi Tengus or Protii, and it's not because they can't do it, it's just because they're not as good. The Lokis and Legions are better. Lokis for shield and Legions for armor. And they're very good at what they do. They're also very expensive and shorter range than their T2 cruiser counterparts, but they make up for it in tank and um, some other ancillary benefits. Questions about T3s?
Is that something I should acquire?
Just in general, having all racial cruisers trained to 5 and then slowly working your way through, like, okay, train Logi up to 5, train Recons up to 5, train heavy assault cruisers up to 5, um, train Hicks up to 5. I'd probably do that one last. What else am I missing for cruisers? Is that all of them?
Subsystem defined.
Yes, all the subsystems. So once you have the racial cruiser skill to 5 and you decide, you know what, I want to fly a Loki. I really want to just go around in a cloaky Loki and do cloaky Loki things. Then you'll train the Minmatar strategic cruiser skill up. You don't need it to 5. You can probably get away with like 3 or 4 for that. But all the subsystems, Minmatar, defensive, offensive, engineering, and electronic systems. They're all subsystems. They're all in the same spot on your skill sheet. You pretty much need those to 5 to fly a T3 effectively. But the nice thing is that they're pretty short trains. For
Okay.
for new pilots, I would recommend waiting before like sprinting towards T3s and things like that. There's other things to learn before you get there.
I got pretty much everything you just said except for the subsystems to 5. They're like 3 and some of their 4.
Okay. Yeah. So you're probably in the position where that might be something you could put on your skill queue. We use T3s a lot, right? We use T3s as our web Lokis, our T3s. The
But we don't use them for Logi, do we?
Not yet. Yeah. Another edge case that I left out is nesters. Um, they have extra utility in that they have a fleet hangar that you can refit off of in the middle of a fight if you need to. Um, they have very heavy rep, and they're very tanky. But the cost is well, the cons are they're very expensive and they're battleships, so they're not really going anywhere in a hurry.
They had two Logi nesters last night,
Yeah,
in
the
addition to the Apostle.
yes, the battleship gang, and those were probably also firewalling nesters.
Mm-hmm.
Firewalling meaning that they fit smart bombs in their high slots, in some of their high slots, I should say, because other ones will be used for their remote reppers. And those firewalling ships will be used to destroy missiles. If your enemy comes in a missile gang, like Talwars or Munins or Cerberuses or Drakes or anything that uses missiles, um, if you have someone that is very good at this, you can put a ship between the two fleets and smart bomb missiles as they're incoming and reduce a lot of damage from the missile fleet. Okay, and then the last thing that I have here listed is spider tanking. This is kind of a gimmick that you'll see um, some fleets do. It's not really like a strategic doctrine kind of thing that we would do, but if you get a bunch of Vexers or Vexer Navy issues or Dominixes that all use drones as their method of shooting stuff, um, you can put remote repairers and cap transfers in all your high slots, and then you can basically be Logi and use your drones to shoot stuff, and then the whole fleet is all one ship, more or less, and you're all repping each other and using your drones to do damage. That's spider tanking. There are other ways to do that. It
Okay.
doesn't have to be drones, but that's an idea of that.
You also
Praxis.
do that in the not the Augur, the T2 version of that, and the Basilisk because they're not cap stable.
Oh, I'll get to
With
the
more than
difference
like
between
okay.
standalone and cap chain in a moment. Okay, so that's all the different kinds of ships that we're dealing with, and then actually right next on my list here, Crusher, is the difference between standalone Logi and cap chain Logi. So uh, standalone, what I'm referring to here, and you might not really hear it referred to this way. Most people don't really talk about it this way, but there's not really any other good word to talk about it. Standalone just means I can be a logistics ship on my own without anyone else to help me be a logistics ship. I can transfer shield or armor to my friends, and I don't need anyone else giving me assistance in order to make that happen. Um, those ships are all the frigates that we talked about. All of the T1 and T2 Logi frigates are all standalone. The Minmatar cruisers, the Scythe and the Scimitar, the Galente cruisers, the Exeter and the Oneros, the Triglavian cruisers, the Rodiva and the Zarmazad, and all the T3 logistics. These are ships that don't need to receive capacitor from somewhere else in order to function. Basically, you take some mind flood and you have some cap assisting modules on your ship somewhere, either whether that's cap boosters in your mid slots or cap rechargers or capacitor flux relays in your low slots, maybe some CCCs in your rig slots, basically something to kind of keep your cap up. And you probably don't run all of your reps constantly all the time permanently, and you can basically sustain yourself from there. Any questions on what I mean by standalone Logi and what that means? Okay, the other kind of Logi that Crusher was getting at is cap chain Logi. And cap chain Logi is Amar, so that's the Augur and the Guardian, and Kaldari, that's the Osprey and the Basilisk. These ships will almost always trade capacitor back and forth with their fellow Logi partners in order to run their modules. In other words, they're not cap stable or even anywhere close to cap stable while running their tank and their prop mod and all of their reps unless they are transferring cap back and forth between one another. Basically, in Eve, you can violate one of the rules of thermodynamics and create energy from nothing. Um, it costs less capacitor to activate a capacitor transfer than the amount of capacitor that is transferred. So if I transfer cap back and forth between two guardians, I can create energy out of nothing and I will be cap stable forever unless my guardian partner stops transferring cap back to me. I can run all my modules, I can turn on all the reps and run them forever, and I will never run out of cap. Does that make sense?
So they're accessing 0 point energy somehow.
Yes, exactly. And that
Yeah,
is,
okay.
yeah, and that's the Amar and Kaldari cruisers that do that. And also, as Crusher was alluding to, you will also do that in a lot of spider tanking gimmicky fleets.
Is Guardian still the king of armor?
More or less. The Zarm is really good. It's very expensive, though. That's the Triglavian T2 Logi, the Zarmazad. And as we talked about earlier, the Zarmazad will rep less than a Guardian at the start of its spool, but by the time it ramps up, if you keep repping the same target, then you're repping more than a Guardian after a couple of cycles. If you can imagine, the thing to do when countering Zarmazads is to shoot different targets. Shoot a target, if it catches, move on to another target. Don't let them ramp up, because the more they ramp up, the less chance you're going to have of killing anything. Right? Make sense?
Yep.
And actually, that just kind of works for any Logi, right? If you're trying to kill things and the enemy fleet has Logi, if you shoot something and they get reps and they catch, basically, that's the terminology that's used, they caught reps, you switch, because it's very rare that you're in a situation where you actually can break Logi reps in like a fairly even fight. Some fights are just completely one-sided and you can just break right through Logi reps, but that's fairly few and far between. Most people don't engage in those fights. Okay, let's see. How do we set up a cap chain? So I'm going to have to kind of describe this as best I can. Is everyone here in the fleet that we had from earlier still? Is everyone in fleet?
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's imagine that the fleet is our Logi channel. So what you'll do whenever you join a fleet as Logi, especially for cap chain Logi, is there should be a Logi channel somewhere. Someone should link a channel and say this is the Logi channel. All the Logi pilots should join that channel. The reason for that is because you use the member list in that channel to figure out who you transfer cap to. So let's see costs, for example. In most cases, you will have two cap transfers if you're talking about the cap chain Logi that we were going over. One up and one down is the standard pretty much across all of Eve. You could go to any other alliance and they're probably running one up, one down. What that means is, for cost, for example, he would transfer one of his cap transfers to Kix and one to Lady. So if you look in the
Mm-hmm.
fleet channel, you got one up and one down for costs. For Pancake, for example, You've got Officer and Remington, one up, one down. Nakar, who would you transfer cap to?
No idea. I got lost.
Oh, that's okay. So you're looking at the fleet chat channel in game?
Yeah, 1 second. Yep.
Okay. And we're imagining that this is the Logi channel, and the member list in this Logi channel is how we decide who we're going to transfer cap to when we're flying in our Guardians. Let's imagine we're in Guardians. Um, you do one up, one down. So you look at the member list in the fleet channel, and you see the person above me in the member list and the person below me. Those are my cap transfers. Can you see who that would be?
Maybe it's too late for me and I'm not seeing anything, but I don't see you to start. But yeah, above me it's Lady Rain and below me is Officer Spanky. So I will pull for one and transfer to the other. That's the idea.
Oh, which character is your main?
Nakar.
Oh, I see. And okay, so set aside your right. Okay, if you have alts in the fleet, you still need to run the chain for each character. This is good. This is very good. I'm glad you brought this up. For each character, you still need to run the chain normally. So Nakar, your character Nakar, would do MC and Nietzsche. One up, one down. And then Nietzsche would do Nakar and Officer. You see that? So what we're imagining is we're sitting in a ship that has two cap transfers, and we have to lock up two people in our fleet in our Guardian group and transfer capacitor to them continuously while we're in combat. And so for your two characters, if you were dual boxing Guardians, you would do with Nakar, you'd do MC and Nietzsche, and with Nietzsche, you'd do Nakar and Officer. Hopefully that landed, and if it doesn't, we can come back to it later. I want everyone to scroll to the bottom of the fleet chat and tell me what I would do.
You do Thorn and Anna.
Perfect. Yep, that's exactly right. I'm all the way at the bottom. There's no one below me. So what's my down? It's the person all the way at the top. And Anna has a similar thing that he has to do. He has to cap transfer me, the person all the way at the bottom, because he's at the top, and then bio. That's how cap transfer, cap chain logi generates its capacitor to keep running. As you can imagine, if someone gets jammed, the chain breaks. And so in the middle of a fight, you will hear Logi speaking to another saying, Kix is jammed. And then Drakos and Kos have to cap around Kix. They have to give each other capacitor until Kix is unjammed and he can reestablish the chain. And you're doing all of this under fire while also keeping people alive.
It's awesome.
Fun.
It's yes, it's definitely an experience. All right, we'll go over like one or two more things, and then we'll get going. Does everyone have a Logi ship that they could like undock right now of any kind? Doesn't matter what kind.
Yep.
All right, everyone, go ahead and undock in your Logi ships, and just stop your ships on the undock and stay tethered. Okay, for those that did undock, all right, cool. We got one more. If you guys have your fleet window open and you have the broadcast tab open, you should see Zip Slings needs shield. If you guys don't see that, let me know. Everyone sees that, hopefully.
So you just lock
Yep.
him and then just you slam him with these things.
That's right. So the basic thing that you do if you're Logi and you're not the anchor, so all you have to do is anchor up on your Logi anchor and watch for broadcasts, lock up the person who broadcasts. Um, to answer your question of like, do you just slam these on them? Kind of no. Uh, it depends on the. It's very situational. If you know that there's a ton of incoming damage, you probably just want to F1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, and be ready as soon as the lock hits. All of your transfers need to go immediately because they're probably almost dead instantly. Um, but if it's a more controlled situation, and you'll know this, you'll get a feel for this as the fight progresses. If the incoming damage is more controlled, if you have time, something that's really good to do is only put 1 or 2 reps on someone, especially if that will keep them up. A, it helps you conserve cap. B, you also need to remember that you have all your other Logi friends also putting 1 or 2 reps on them. So really 1 or 2 is more like 7 or 8 depending on how many Logi ships you have. And finally, if you can make it look like the ship that the enemy fleet is shooting is breaking, so if you can make it look like they're slowly going down. If you ever watch Rooks and Kings videos, you'll hear Lord Maldroy say, keeping them keen. If you can keep them keen on shooting one ship, then that makes your life extremely easy. You only have to keep focusing on that one ship and keep it just barely alive, right? At like 30%, 40% of their HP or whatever. Um, and then the enemy's not going to shoot something else. Because as soon as they shoot something else, you have to turn off your reps, you have to lock them up, you have to panic and make sure they're not going to instantly die, right? Does that all make sense?
Yep.
And I don't know if you mentioned it, Zip, as I went AFK and I missed part of the ASMR sesh here, but with the shield and armor, the shield logistics, your healing's front loaded, so you can catch them that last second, and they're going to get all that juice right at the front. But with the armor, you kind of want to be a little more proactive because they're not going to catch any heals until your thing has completely cycled.
Yep, that's exactly right. And I was just about to do that. Thank you for bringing that up, SK. If you guys are at all familiar with local repairs, like shield or armor repairs on your own ship, you'll know that as soon as you click the button for a shield booster in your mid slot, you get that shield immediately, right? But for an armor repair, you click the button, nothing happens until the cycle completes, and then you get the armor. The same thing applies for remote reps. Shield happens at the start of the cycle, armor happens at the end of the cycle. So that kind of changes the calculus on what I was talking about with when to start repping someone, exactly as SK said. Questions on that? Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense.
Cool. Does everyone have their shield and armor broadcast bound to a shortcut?
No.
Okay. This is not directly Logi 101, but this is going to make your lives easier, and it's just the more people we get to do this, the better. Hit escape, click on any one of the shortcut options. Under shortcuts, you have like window, combat, general. It doesn't matter which one you pick, just click on any of them. There's a filter option at the top that searches all of them. You don't have to be on the right one. You should search the word broadcast.
Yep.
And really the only ones you need to bind are armor, shield, and maybe capacitor. Personally, I choose Shift A for armor, Shift S for shield, and Shift C for capacitor. You can choose whatever makes sense for you. Once you've done that, then you can hit escape and back out of there and test it out. Perfect. And then something we didn't really explicitly mention, but I really want to nail it home. You should control click the entries in the broadcasts to lock people. You shouldn't have to go find them somewhere else. You shouldn't have to find them in your overview. They probably shouldn't even be on your overview. You shouldn't have to find them in fleet chat. You shouldn't have to find them on your watch list. You control click that broadcast and your ship will attempt to lock that target. Same thing goes for targets when you're flying DPS, but this is for Logi. Make sense? Everyone got that part?
Yep.
Hmm.
Cool. All right. Let's just run down my list here of what to do. We probably covered most of this, but let me just make sure. So if you're not the anchor, as soon as combat starts or as soon as the Logi anchor says Logi anchor up, you anchor up just like you would a normal fleet. The whole point is the Logi anchor can move you where they need to move you. So you anchor up just like normal, and for those reasons. And you rep the people that broadcast. Anchor generally in most fleets means orbit, somewhere between like 500 and 1,000, maybe 2,500. This keeps your speed up. Even if the Logi anchor gets webbed or scrammed, you will keep orbiting, so your speed is up. You keep up with the anchor, obviously, so that you don't like fall out of range and you can continue repping people, your cap transfers all in range, etc. And then finally, if a T2 destroyer, a Boosh destroyer, were to boosh all the Logi away, it's much better for you all to get booshed away and be together as a group than for you to get split up. If you're together as a group, that means that all of your cap transfers stay, everything continues to work as normal, and the fleet can react and maybe come towards you, and you can kind of come back towards the fleet. But if you get split up, things can be hairy. So stay close to the anchor, especially when there are T2 command destroyers on the grid. If you're the anchor, this is much more challenging. In most cases, you want to try and stay away from the enemy. Think of the grid as a sandwich. Your Logi, your buddies, are a one piece of bread, and the enemy fleet is also another piece of bread, and your friendly fleet is the meat. You want to keep the meat between you and the enemy fleet. You want to keep transversal up, especially against turret ships, so ships that are using sentry drones, projectiles, rails, lasers. You want to try to move in orbits that keep your transversal up against those ships. You just generally want to keep moving, always be moving. Um, Focus on keeping Logi alive over preserving the rest of the fleet. Fleets can sustain some DPS losses in most cases, but Logi losses can pretty much end the fight if you're not careful. Take all that with a grain of salt. There's uh, what's the word? Exceptions to all of this. Um, Communicate with the FC. This is again usually the Logi anchor's job or the Logi FC. Usually those are the same person, not always. Tell the FC if reps aren't holding. There are a couple of different ways to communicate this. If we're dying before you can even lock the target, you can say something like we're being volleyed or people aren't broadcasting in time. And it's hard to know which of those things is happening. So it takes some awareness and getting used to what's going on. But yeah, if you can't even lock them up, either we're getting volleyed or people aren't broadcasting on time. And then if you can lock and apply reps, so if you lock someone and heat all your reps and you're repairing them and all the Logi is repairing them, but they still die, that means we're breaking. Right? So there's some different terminology here. We're breaking tells the FC, even with full reps on a target, we can't stay alive. I have to do something about that. And so I, as the FC, can make different decisions based on that versus we're getting volleyed or people aren't broadcasting on time. Right? All these are useful pieces of information for me as the FC, and the Logi FC should be communicating that to the FC. And obviously don't over communicate. It's a balance. It takes time to get used to. Like everything else in Eve, the only way to actually understand the complexity involved in any particular role is to experience it for yourself. So I
Mhm.
recommend everyone here get out there and be a Logi bro. We love Logi. Logi's amazing. And I will link an Eve Uni guide for Logi organization and tactics for further reading.
Cool.
Questions?
No, I think it's good. Covered everything I was wanting to cover.
Cool. All right. In Flying Dangerous and in general chat on Discord, I've linked that further reading for you guys. I'll put this up on YouTube so that others who weren't here can also get this information fresh. It'll be a duplicate of another class I have, but that's totally fine. And I'm going to do more of these classes coming up here in the next few weeks and months.
Sweet.
So one quick other tip that I like to do, Zip,
Yeah.
in my overview settings, when I am Logi, I filter out the target broadcasting, so I don't even see them.
Yes, very good point. If you guys are in your fleet window, you click on the three dots near the top right. And go to broadcast settings, and in there you can uncheck the things you don't need. Like, for example, I never have need backup or fleet event or in position, spotted enemy at location, right? None of those I have checked. And when you're flying Logi, what John is suggesting is uncheck the broadcast target option. That way you only see the people who are broadcasting for reps, and you don't have your broadcast history cluttered by target broadcasts, which on the flip side, for DPS, it can also be useful to uncheck the armor and shield broadcast for the same reason. Yep, definitely a good point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. All right, anything else I missed?
So one of the tricks I do is, if the size allows it, I'd like to put everybody on the watch list.
Yep.
Even though that could be teaching bad habits with people not broadcasting, it does let me see instantly if people are getting volleyed or if they're getting kind of chewed down a little bit.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with that. In most fleets, you can do that, especially since we tend to run smaller scale. You can put everyone on your watch list. In larger fleets like tonight, this is exactly why we have people L up as Logi, because all the Logi should have each other on the watch list, so you can be more aware of that, lock up your Logi bros faster if they're getting shot. We also have snowflakes X up, so you can add all the snowflakes to your watch list. The people that are in ships that are most likely to get primaried, those are the snowflakes. And then, yeah, as many other people as you can sort of manage, given your window setup, adding to your watch list, definitely, 100%.
Oh, and headshots. We should probably mention that.
Yeah, I mean, the enemy fleet targets the FC and kills them, or targets the Logi FC and kills them instantly. It's something that happens. It's Eve. That this is also why you have the FC and the Logi FC on your watch list, is you can help prevent against that. But sometimes it just happens. And this is also why we often assign secondary FCs and anchors, etc. All right. Anything else? Cool.
No, it pretty much covers it until I actually get out there and do it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming to listen to me ramble for 45 minutes. That was good for me to at least get back into this. And yeah, excellent job, everyone, tonight. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Zip.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.